Arguably the most powerful feature on the Airbnb platform outside of the multi-calendar itself, which enables Rulesets, part of Pro Tools, as you guys might be aware. If you haven't seen the video about the multi-calendar, you'll need to watch that first before you get to this video. So click the link in the corner, watch the multi-calendar video. But to bring you up to speed on this, Rulesets are a way to change your prices for very specific days and change the parameters of what are normally just permanent rules for those specific days as well. And I am going to make this simple in this video so you can understand it. I would argue that this is the reason why a lot of us really like, Airbnb over VRBO or Booking.com, even though VRBO's come a long way on their customer quality and their reach. We're getting a lot of bookings on VRBO. But Airbnb's understanding of giving hosts enterprise level solutions is why a lot of us are still going to be heavily loyal to Airbnb's platform. Now, there are other really cool features like the scheduled messages feature, which is a strong example of enterprise level solutions. But in this video, we're going to talk about what Rulesets are. I'm going to give you some strong examples of how to use Rulesets. And Airbnb broke Rulesets very slightly in their last Airbnb API update, which there's another video on Airbnb API update that I just released as well. Watch that video too, just to catch up on all the Airbnb feature stuff. But yes, in this video, I'm going to teach you how to use some Rulesets so you can do some really cool stuff with your pricing. Let's jump in. Welcome back, YouTube world. I'm gonna humble brag a little bit on Wheelhouse actually with this video because it is because of my explanation of Rulesets to Wheelhouse and how we do pricing that they've created something called hybrid pricing. Not all entirely me, but it's inspired by some of the talks that we've had, and they've created some really cool features lately, including new gap logic and adjacency logic, which no one else in the world provides. And the only reason why Wheelhouse made adjacency logic is my explanation of how adjacencies work. I did a very short talk on adjacency in Houston at the Rentalpreneur Summit, and they responded so fast to add this feature. I still use Rulesets and Wheelhouse together as a combined pricing strategy. There's going to be a link in the description. Sign up for Wheelhouse. Use Wheelhouse for your pricing. Once you learn how to do pricing through me, teach it how you want your prices to move. They'll automate all of the logic for you in a very, very deep way. And then because of how much prices can move, you're going to want to use Rulesets at the same time. And this video is going to explain that to you. So by the end of this video, you're going to be ready to do some real cool pricing stuff. Fun fact, 90% of people who attended the Rentalpreneur Summit, which are all hosts, 90% of them did not know what a multi-calendar is. And if they don't know what a multi-calendar is, then they don't know what Rulesets are. And if they don't know what Rulesets are, then they probably don't know what dynamic pricing is. A lot of people are connected to Price Labs, Wheelhouse, but it's like a set it and forget it approach. And that's not good enough. And I'm going to explain why. So dynamic pricing, to catch you up, is when you change your prices day to day. You're gonna have base prices on your listing. That's pretty typical. For example, your weekdays could be $100 and your weekends could be $200. Seasonality is one of the main reasons why we can argue to change prices. You might have a high season where maybe your weekdays should be $400 and your weekends should be $1,000. And then low season, you'll get that $100 and $200. And then between peak season and low season, you might even get some prices, say $200, $300, $400 on your weekdays and stuff like that. Seasonality is the first argument for changing your prices. But it doesn't end there. Things like lead time. And what lead time is how many days you have to get booked. For example, if today is the 25th of September and tomorrow is the 26th, if that day is unbooked, I have 1 day to get booked tomorrow, right? And that's 1 day lead time. But if it's September 26th next year, I have an entire year to get booked. So naturally, next year's price I should have listed as more than tomorrow's price because I have 365 days to get September 26, 2023 booked. I should be pretty confident that I can get it booked at a higher price than the day that is about to arrive tomorrow. Make sense? So lead time is how many days do you have until that day arrives? That's lead time. Because when today becomes today, it's your last day to get booked. And the moment that today becomes yesterday, if it is not sold, it becomes a past date and you cannot sell it. No one can sleep in your place yesterday if you didn't book it today. Another reason why prices can change is something like demand, and demand can change outside of seasonality. Remember, COVID gutted everybody. Airbnb canceled everybody's reservations, but then there was areas that had deflated demand. Philadelphia had deflated demand for nearly a year. Texas, maybe 6 weeks. And so there are certain areas where demand will change based on sentiment, the recession, stuff like that. So demand will change your prices. And then the most important ones that I want to talk about are things like gaps and adjacencies and how your calendar is filling up. Rule number one, always a rule. If your calendar is wide open, all of your days should be more expensive than if your calendar has bookings already. The reason why is because the moment you have 3 or 4 or 5 bookings in a calendar, options go away. You can't provide somebody a month-long stay anymore. because somebody else is already staying in your place. You can't guarantee a Tuesday check-in because somebody's already booked through Tuesday. Things like that. So as people are searching on Airbnb, as your calendar fills up, you show up in less searches. If we're gonna try to make this a simple math equation, you're going to have total number of views, and you're gonna have booking conversion percentage, and that should lead to the number of bookings you get. If you have 30 days available on your calendar, and you typically tend to get 50 views per day available, you could get 1,500 views a month. But if you only have 10 days available on your calendar, well, 50 views a day is 500 views a month. And so you have 1/3 the total number of views because you have less days available. So now to get those last days booked, you might have to change your price to increase your booking conversion percentage, because you can't just go add a hot tub for the last 10 days. There's not a lot you can do to increase your booking conversion percentage than to change your price once you get to this point. We're going to load some screenshots from the Rentalpreneur Summit conversation that I had. And this one is about adjacencies. You're gonna notice that Thursday on either side is the first or last day available in a run of days. Well, because of that, it has less than half the total bookable combinations. I believe each day has 8 days available of bookings. Like you have a day that checks in on Thursday, leaves Friday, check-in on Thursday, leaves Saturday, check-in on Thursday, leaves Sunday. You have very specific date ranges available for that first Thursday, but the Monday in the middle, you can have a check-in on Monday, but you can have a check-in before Monday, right? You can have a check-in on Saturday. And because of that, you have 17 combinations of dates available or date ranges available for bookings. So for every 17 searches Monday shows up in, Thursday can only show up in 8. And because of that lack of visibility, prices should change. And you'll notice on this screenshot that both Thursdays are cheaper than the Monday in the middle, including the second Thursday, which is farther in the future. So visibility and combination of lead time lead to total price in my philosophy. If I've got 3 months to get booked and a day is wide open, it's gonna be premiumly priced. If I have 3 months to get booked and it's next to another reservation, I realize that that day is compromised because it's next to a reservation. So probably 6 weeks to 8 weeks out, I'll lower the price on that date just because it's gonna show up in less searches. And if it doesn't get booked 6 or 8 weeks out, I'm no longer confident that it will get booked at its listed price, which means I'm gonna change its price. Wheelhouse has now built in a feature that does that. So if there is a reservation and you have a day right before that reservation available, its adjacency algorithm will do what I told Wheelhouse to make and start to lower that price for you. And I'm super proud of that. So that's why Wheelhouse is the best pricing algorithm on the planet now, because it really starts to look at combinations of dates available as part of its overall algorithm strategy. This still doesn't get the rule sets yet, does it? And it's important. We're building on a platform here so I can tell you why rule sets matter. There's a point where you're gonna drop your prices a lot. That could happen. Let's say your typical weekday price is $400 and your typical weekend price is $1,000, like we discussed before. Let's say 400 and 1,000 is a good price point to get nearly half your calendar booked, and you start to lower your prices. Let's say there's 5 or 6 days available left on your calendar, like weekdays, and they're not gonna get booked at 400. Let's say you had a weekly discount of 35, 40 something percent. Well, $400 a night with a 40% discount is gonna give you $160 off, which makes it $240 a night. Well, if you lower the price manually, or Wheelhouse lowers the price for you down to $240 a night, you probably don't want to still give another 40% off, do you? Because another 40% off is going to be nearly $100. And so now if you're giving $100 off of 240, somebody's going to pay $145 a night for that weekday because your week-long discount is still active. This is something that rule sets can change. And that's why rule sets are so important. Even if Wheelhouse does all of your pricing management because you set it up the right way, what'll happen is it will drop the price on certain dates so low that you want to undo some things. And a weekly discount is the prime candidate. So you can go into a rule set and you can do what I call it no discounts. You can actually set it up where every single possible discount available, you set it to 0%. Now this is where Airbnb actually broke part of their rule sets, and this is what I want to tell you. This is where if you're using rule sets, you need to know this new feature. Problem. You can set 0% discounts as long as you're only doing length of stay discounts. But if you try to change length of stay discounts and another aspect, right? Like last minute discounts. Let's say you're trying to use length of stay discounts and last minute discounts at the same time. Airbnb won't recognize any number that is lower than 1. You have to use 1% or greater if your rule sets cover multiple topics. You just have a flat discount of 20%. And then if the day is within 10 days from now, you do another 5% off. If the day is within 4 days from now, you do another 10% off, something like that. You can set that up. But then if you want to remove length of stay discounts, so that way there's no 3-day or 4-day discount, you actually have to list them as 1%. So the 3-day discount's now 1%, 4-day discount's now 1%, your weekly discount is now 1%. And it'll change your discount from whatever it was. In the case that we were talking about 40% off, now it's only 1% off. So that way, all those discounts that you gave for that listing out the door through Wheelhouse or manually, you no longer have to worry about somebody stacking that and taking your weekly discount and getting a bottom rate. We use the no discounts rule set for today, tomorrow, the next day, anything within the next 5 or 7 days, because we know that we're dropping our prices to like our final rate, and we don't want to give somebody an additional discount if they're already getting bottom of the barrel prices. Another discount I like to give is what I call a perfect fit. So let's say that you have 4-day long gap. Somebody checks out on a Monday, somebody checks in on a Friday. So you got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You got those available. Let's say your rate's $100 a night for those days. Well, you want a 4-day stay, right? It'd be so good to have a 4-day stay and just make your list, you make your calendar 100% occupancy. Well, you could do something really cool. You could make a discount, a 4-day discount of say 30%. I would name this a perfect 4-30. So perfect 4-day, 30% discount. That's how I would store it in my rule sets. So for that 4-day range, I would highlight those 4 days and I'd put that rule set in. If somebody books exactly those 4 days, they'll get 30% off of all of those 4 days. So the $100 per day for those 4 days now becomes $70 per day. If they booked 1 day, 2 day, or 3 day, they're still paying all $100 per day because I actually take it and I go 0% off 2 days, 0% off 3 day, and then 30% off 4 day. It has to be 4-day stay to get the discount. And Airbnb does suggestively push these things. When you go to the calendar and you're going to book, if somebody's got a 3-day stay, it'll go, you'll get extra 30% off if you add 1 more day. Airbnb starts to suggestively sell these things, so this actually helps you get more 4-day stays in that range. Because the last thing you want is for that to be a 4-day range and then somebody books the 2 days in the middle and then you have 2 separate 1-day gaps. That triples the amount of housekeeping that you have to do. And it like really slashes the likelihood that those days will get booked. 1-day gaps are the hardest gaps to fill because there's only one booking combination that can get filled, right? They have to check in one day and check out the next day. There's only one combination. And with a 2-day gap, you either have 2 separate 1-day stays or 1 2-day stay. So you have 3 combinations. With a 3-day gap, you've got 3 separate 1 days, 2 separate 2 days, and a 3-day. So a 3-day long gap has 6 booking combinations. A 1-day gap has 1. You can see why a 1-day gap is harder to book than even a 3-day gap. You start to get the point. Combinations are the heart of pricing strategy. In my opinion, the math is all combinations. At a bird's eye view, when we look at combinations, you can look at something called pace. And pace is the rate at which you expect to get booked. And this is another thing that I teach, like deep dive in Cracking Superhost. And I don't want to turn this into a 2-hour-long pricing video because I already have that. I have a whole playlist on pricing strategy here. And if you want to know all of my rule sets and how I use my rule sets, Cracking Superhost has my pricing strategy, including rule sets in there. I also teach how to do Wheelhouse. I'm about to do a super deep dive private seminar on using Wheelhouse soon. Now that they have all my features, I'm going to be doing that. So stay tuned for a link somewhere to get a ticket for that. It's going to be pretty insane. But my private teaching on pricing strategy, I think, is absolutely vital if you want to use rule sets in a big way. But back to pace. Pace is really applicable when you have a lot of listings. If you only have 1 listing, it's really hard for you to look at it. Let's say you have 1 building that has 30 apartments in 1 building. Well, 3 months from now, let's say you have 0 bookings on all 30 units. That may not be so bad. Let's say that a month from now, you have 5 bookings out of your 30 units. That's, you can do better. 2 weeks from now, you have 15 of your properties booked 2 weeks out. That's actually pretty good. 5 days out, let's say you have 24 of your 30 listings booked. I think that's decent too. 5 days out, you're 24 of 30 booked. And then tomorrow, you're 100% booked. You have 100% occupancy by tomorrow. That is lovely. You're good. But let's say some of those numbers change. Let's say 3 months from now, you have 10 of those listings booked. Cool. But 2 weeks from now, you have 12. That's not much better, is it? Well, a week from now, you have 16. That was way not better. And 3 days from now, you have 20. So now you have 10 listings still unbooked 3 days from now. The way that you do your pricing strategy will change in both scenarios based on how strong you're getting booked, based on your lead time. Right now, 3 days from now with 10 bookings left, you're slashing prices. You're slashing them left and right. But in the first scenario where you're 100% booked tomorrow and you're mostly booked 5 days from now, you will hold a stronger price point on the 6 remaining days from example 1. Because your booking trend states, with the way that we're doing pricing, we're getting 100% booked before today arrives. So we're just fine. We don't need to drop our rates much. Everything is going as planned. But in scenario number 2, we're not really getting booked. Today is knocking on our doorstep and we have 30% of our occupancy left to fill. that should throw you a red flag, go, hey, we need to start slashing some prices and make some corrections. And that's how pace can really guide your pricing strategy. All of this stuff is largely up for interpretation. Wheelhouse can see pace, right? Because Wheelhouse sees tons of listings all over the world. So even though you only have one listing, Wheelhouse does price based on pace because that is aggregate market demand. So you get a version of pace even if you only have 1 or 2 listings by using something like Wheelhouse. I will argue that if you have 30 listings in the same property, you still want to assess your own pace because it's much more granular than Wheelhouse can give you. Because they're going to look at your listing compared to the whole market. And there might be a reason why your listing is getting booked faster than everybody or booked slower than everybody. So recognizing that your listings are truly unique from Wheelhouse's like master data is an important thing to consider. Pace is something that you should, from a building to building basis, look at how strong your booking trend is and whether or not you're confident that you're going to get 100% occupied before the days run away on you and you lose the chance to sell those days. That's an example of pace. You should use it. And naturally, what I'm saying to you is you should have 100 properties. Of course, like this is really high level stuff once you get to this point. But there is a benefit to having a bunch of properties. You get all the data and you get all the scale. Since we have about 150 properties now, we hire a lot of our housekeepers by the hour. We have teams that are loyal to us. They do what we do. They do what we say. We have proprietary cleaning systems that they follow. We have an advantage there, where you guys might be using a third-party housekeeping company that'll up their price on you and tell you how it's going to be. They'll clean the way that they want to clean. They're not going to listen to you like that because they are the professional. Giving that extra value to a guest, you don't have your hands on that because you don't control the cleaning system. So if you want to scale and get to 100 properties, I advise that you check out the hosts of Airbnb Automated on Facebook. And if you want to pitch apartment complexes like I do, I have some scripts in cracking Superhost, and those scripts include how to get free rent. My last run of deals, the ones that we're picking up while I was at Burning Man, we furnished 35 of 55 while I was at Burning Man. All 55 doors got 4 weeks of rent for free or more. I think we got like $145,000-ish in free rent. The rents at these properties are all about $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 per door max. We got over $100,000 of free stuff by using my scripts, and my students do it all the time. So if you're looking to really go fast, build big, build to scale, be able to utilize the concept of pace in your pricing strategy, then learn from me. Click the links below, yada, yada, stuff like that. Thank you so much for watching this video. And as always, I'll see you on the other side.